Welcome in, I'm Artris, and today let's talk about one of the more explosive decks to come from the 3-captain starter deck, and that is the red-purple Luffy. This is a 6k leader with 3 life, so kind of similar to Whitebeard in that regard. It says activate main once per turn if your field has 0 Dawn, or your board has 8 or more Dawn, add 1 Dawn from your Dawn deck active. I think the way that you're supposed to be playing this deck is very much so just early game, trying to ramp up to get to that 8 Dawn so that you can use your leader ability to get to the 9 Dawn within that same turn, play a big body, and then keep up that momentum from there on out. And you can usually get a big body on field, usually around turn 4, I believe. So very similar to what we're going to see with Purple Luffy in the next set. Red-Purple Luffy is very much that very strong aggro deck. I have to say this is a very volatile deck in the way that it plays. You're going to be very short on cards because you only have 3 life. You're not getting a lot of cards from your life itself. So you do have to be very cognizant of the fact that your hand size is going to be small the longer you go on with the game, simply because your opponent will be able to chip away at your hand with the 6k attacks. That's very easy for a lot of people to be able to hit. So the way you want to play this deck is very defensive from the early to mid stage, and then once you get to the late game, you should be able to have a healthy enough life total, usually around 2 life, where you can counter out of most stuff, or at least put up some blockers, and then you're applying so much pressure with the big bodies you're throwing down. So let's go over the deck list and see what we have here. Keep this in mind, this is actually a list that I think would be stronger with the starter deck Nami, but because it is banned, we had to make some adjustments to kind of make it less consistent with the searches, but hopefully able to see what we need overall. For our 2Ks, we're running 4 Otama, 4 Brook, and 4 Sasaki. Now, for the most part, these will be just 2Ks, but Sasaki is a good, unique case where you can actually throw this down and use it to ramp up. So that's why I included it as part of the 2K package. Now, some of the ramp cards that we have in here include 4 of the ulti, which it is a 2-cost on play, pay 1, add 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and rest it. That is okay. The only problem that I have with this card is it doesn't have counter, but I think because you're seeing it early enough, or you're trying to mull for it early enough that you can see it and play it, you get value out of it, and then you can use it to pick off some of your opponents, like smaller characters, which you usually don't want to use your leader for anyway. We're running 3 of the Basil Hawkins, which this comes out of life, and it is basically just play this card on play, add 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck, and rest it. So another ramping card for you to be able to play down. We're also running 4 of the new Jean Barts. This is an on-play, pay 1 Dawn. You may add up to 1 Dawn from your Dawn deck and set it as active. This is really good because when you play this down on your 5 Dawn turn, you can then get an active Dawn and swing with 7 for your lead. So that's also a really strong play. You can also, if you want to, include the Miss All Sunday from OPO4, which that is basically the same thing as this, except the Dawn comes in rested and you get to draw a card. However, the drawback there is no counter. One of the problems that I did find with this deck is sometimes you are caught with cards that don't have counter value on them in your hand often than not, and it's sometimes hard to counter out of some of the attacks that your opponent throws. So I chose to go Jean Bart with this 4-drop ramp card instead of some of the other options that are out there. Now, for our blocker package, we do have 4 of the new Trafalgar Law. This is on play, Dawn -1. If your opponent has 7 or more cards in their hand, you may trash 2 cards from their hand. Very strong card. I think this is going to be a staple in purple for quite a while, if not for the rest of the meta until something obviously eclipses it. But I think for now, it's a really strong card. It's basically like the Issho in black, the 8-drop, except it has to be 7 instead of 6, but still, you're getting this down early enough. You're probably going to be able to get a couple cards out of hand. And if not, your opponent has to think about this a lot. And so they have to make sure that they're balancing their hand in between 6 or 7. And if they do go into that 7 range, you can always play this and snipe them, which is really nice. We have 4 Queen, which this is a great card. Love seeing this when I get it. Mostly because there's not a lot of draw in this whole deck, which is a big problem to me. Not being able to draw cards is very sad, and I don't like playing that style of play. And Queen satisfies that. Queen will allow you to draw 2 and then trash the worst card in your hand, which, like I said, you will have duds in your hand playing this. So maybe you draw into an ulti, and you're like, well, there's no reason for me to play this late, so I'm just going to pitch it to the Queen. So that's what Queen is for. Queen allows you to draw 2 and then pitch the worst one, which is really nice, and then doubles as a blocker. And if you so choose, you can also decide to attack with it later in the game. Now, for our big bodies, we are running 3 Shanks, which is Rush, and your opponent cannot activate a blocker character that has 2,000 or less power during this battle. We're running 1 of the Edward Newgate, which Honestly, I'd run 4 if you could, because this card synergizes really well with your leader. Just being an 8k body for a whole turn is extremely strong. We're running 1 of the new Monkey D. Luffy Rush cards, the 10-drop. Rush once per turn. After your opponent activates a blocker, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 8,000 power or less. It's really strong, great for closing out games or just kind of board clearing if you can. This is a very strong threat. The only problem with this card, I would say, is that it is 10 Dawn, so sometimes if you play it down, you are left susceptible to a counterattack because maybe you don't have enough for an event. We're trying out 2 of the 9-drop Kaidos. I think this is really good for late game when you're trying to close the game. Maybe an opponent throws a blocker out on the field and you need to get one more swing in. This will get rid of it and get that 10k in for rush value as well. So the only downside for here is we're minusing 5 Dawn to play it. That's why I say you might want to do it as like a last-ditch late game kind of thing. I typically wouldn't play this on curve if you don't have to, but if it's the only big guy in your hand, then yeah, play it. And then also we're running the new 7-drop. We're running 4 of these. 7-drop Eustace Captain Kidd. On play and when attacking, Dawn -1 up to one of your leader gains plus 1,000 power until the start of your next turn. Really strong here. This will also be, I think, a staple in purple because it just allows your leader to be a pseudo Whitebeard, and in this case, a 7k body, which is really nuts. So I say run 4 of these, absolutely. Another couple of cards you might want to consider running would be the 8-drop Uta, which I don't know if I can find it really fast. I think it is part of the OPO3. Yeah, this one right here. The 8-drop Uta, you might want to consider this on play minus Dawn -2. Your leader and your ally characters gain 1,000 power until the start of your next turn. That's also a really good synergistic card with the other things in this deck. However, the 7-drop Eustace Captain Kidd does kind of satisfy the same purpose. So that's the reason why I included it instead of the Uta. Now for our defense, for our counter events, we're running 1 Rad Beam, 4 guard points, and then 3 of the Gum Gum Jet Gatlings. This is a really good strong card if it gets a trigger because it also allows you to ramp if you get the trigger off of it. So something to consider there. You're often going to be at a having like 1 extra Dawn to play with per turn. So that's if you see your big bodies are 9 drops. So that means you do have 1 Dawn left remaining. So you do have something open for your Rad Beams or your guard. So something to keep in mind there. But that is the deck list overall. There are some changes I'd like to make, but I think this is a solid deck list to start off with. So hopefully you guys find some value out of this and also can maybe play test it yourself. So before we get into the actual gameplay, if you find anything in this video useful or helpful or informative or whatever it may be, please make sure to drop a like and sub. It helps out the channel so much. I really appreciate all the support, guys. And without further ado, let's get into some games. Okay, we're going against Issho, which I think this matchup is favored for Luffy. I think that Luffy is probably a solid B tier deck. Since we're going second and we do have a Basil Hawkins on curve, let's go ahead and keep this hand, and then we should be good to be playing the 9-drop Shanks on curve. Now, the Bonnie is a little bit of an issue here, so because it is a problem, I'm going to throw the ulti down without using the ability quite yet, because I want to be able to attack into this Bonnie overall. Now, when they swing in, usually for the first hit, I will take it. Going down to 2 life isn't the scariest thing in the world. I want to be able to get a hand size, which is very important for me. I assume that they are going to be playing their Bonnie and then restanding it, which, that's smart, that's fair. We're going to play down our Basil Hawkins, and then we're going to just swing in for 6. The next turn, we can actually play our Kid instead. Now, obviously, I would have liked to use the ulti with the ability. Unfortunately, though, I wanted to be able to attack into this Bonnie if possible, rather than use my leader ability, or rather than use my leader attack. So we could have been at 8 Dawn going into the next turn if we played it correctly, but regardless. Actually, that's not right. We still would have been able to ramp more efficiently if we played the ulti a turn late. It's okay. I imagine they're going to play a blocker down for the most part, is what they usually do. They don't. Okay. So they're just restanding their Bonnie every turn. That is fine. We'll take this hit. Still not really concerned. Oh. They're going to get to the point where it is very difficult for them to start hitting into us, especially if they're just doing their leader ability every turn, and that's it. So if they do go in for this basic kill here, I'm just going to throw down the queen the next turn just to protect myself, because I think I can survive a little bit longer. If we are able to counter out of this, then I think I will just throw down the Shanks. If they stack all on, then I'm not too sure what else you can do other than just take it, play down the queen, and then call it a day. Okay. We are safe. Throw down our Shanks. We're also not really that scared to go to 0 life either. Nice. Okay, we'll play this down. We'll get the effect out first. -1. Swing 8. He's going to block. We'll swing 7. They'll likely counter out of this because they have 10 cards in hand. If they don't, I would be surprised. And they'll likely just take this one. And we will pass. They might throw an Issho down for good nature just because they are at that 8-9 Dawn turn. We have 7 cards in hand, so it would rip a couple. Hopefully it doesn't rip the queen. That's the one thing I don't want being ripped out of my hand. They are at a stage where they could start potentially going for lethal plays, which is something to keep in mind. Okay. Decent play there. Not too shabby. I would imagine he puts the 1 on the law and swings in and then restands. Does not. Okay. So queen, we're gonna use the ability. Perfect. We'll get rid of the ulti. What did I say in the intro? That is exactly what we want to see there. I think it's safe to go down and throw another queen, right? Let's just swing 6. They'll counter out. Yep, counter out. Not with a 2K, but with 2 1Ks, which is very strange. Swing 10? Are they just going to block this one? They should, right? No, they might have like no, they don't. Okay, they just block it. What do I know? I'm going to stop guessing because obviously I don't know what to do here. Ooh, this is actually a really good spot to be in. We have a bunch of 2Ks. I do want to keep this for like a close. So we're going to drop 1 Hawkins. And we should be okay. We're hiding behind 2 blockers. We have 1 life. We're a 6K leader. We have a guard point in hand. And the rest of our hand is a bunch of 2Ks. So I'm not too scared right now, but I could be wrong. They might have, like, once again, the Issho could come down, rip out guard point and the Kaido, and then we're kind of just left dumbfounded. Okay. Loved seeing this. Loved them dropping 2 cards to get rid of a blocker rather than attack first and see what I do. But I feel like they must be on a clock. I feel like that's probably the reason why they are playing like this. Normally, I would just attack first and then see, like, if I was in the shoes of the Issho, I would probably attack first and then see, like, what I do. Okay, the law is just swinging in for a simple 7. We'll counter out. No blocks. And counter out, yeah. I've got to remember to start hovering over the cards as well. I know not everybody's familiar, so... I think we just swing 6. We swing 6. Because we're in the driver's seat, we're going to swing 10 here. Maybe we can get a block out of them. If we can get a block out of them, then we play down the Kaido and we can pop the Sakazuki. But if they don't, if they just take this, then we can play down the Kaido, pop the Law, and then swing for 10 again. They might have a counter here. They could go, okay, Spider's Web, sure. Okay. I have a feeling that they're gonna block, but if they don't, I don't want to pop the law here because it doesn't really matter. I want to pop the bigger threat. Yeah, I think that they realize that as well. There's no way for them to get past. So the reason why I wanted to pop the Sakazuki there is because it forces them to use the law to attack into me. And if they do that, then that means they have to leave one Dawn up. So it's one Dawn tax for them to restand the law. And then on top of that, they're not really establishing anything else. I'm sitting behind a blocker, and I'm also hiding behind one life and a guard point. So yeah, that was a really good example of, I think, why Kaido's strong, but also just an example of the deck ramping in general. Red Rock, figured as much. Actually, I didn't figure that. I thought there was a possibility, but I'm surprised to see that they did that. Well, because we don't have anything else to play, we're just gonna go ahead and play the Kaido. This is where they might have a Kaido of their own. If they play Kaido at this point, though, at 9 Dawn, not really having anything else to play. Yeah, I think them not finding Island really hurt them here. If they found Island, we would definitely be in a very similar spot. But obviously the game's not over yet. They can still come back. They have quite a lot of cards in hand, but it's not looking favorable for the Kaido. Because like next turn, what I can end up doing is go like 10 with this Kaido and then swing in for 7, so 13, 10, 13, go 11, 12. Yeah, a couple different ways to do it. Well, at least they have a blocker this turn, so there's that for them. I think I do want to take at least one hit if they decide to swing in, because I just don't have much in hand. The fact that I had to play this is not good. See, if I got the Newgate on curve, that'd be much better, right? How do we eat their hand? I guess we just swing here first. Okay, if they drop the actual 10 drop, which wipes the board, we're okay with that. We're actually okay with that. Because that means they're not attacking us with their leader. We can play our Newgate down safely the next turn. Playing this is a trap, because then they can board wipe it the following turn. Okay. They don't have it. I don't know if Blue-Purple Kaido runs the 10-drop board wipe Kaido. I know that I like to run 1 or 2, but I feel like I've seen a fair amount run the 10-drop blue Kaido that bounces. What are they searching for? What are they searching for? Am I gonna regret this? I feel like I'm gonna regret this if I decide to go Newgate and then they board wipe the following turn. Probably not, right? Because if they don't throw a blocker down, they're at 1 life. Even if they throw a blocker down, probably one of these attacks is getting through. Play down Poly, so on play, they pay 2 Dawn, and then they can ramp, which they were already at 10, and then KO something 4 or less, which that's fine. We don't really care if that gets knocked out. This doesn't really leave them with a lot, though. I think we can probably seal the deal next turn. Yeah. Ooh. Let's just start off with 10. Right? Let's just see what they do here. They might go Last Breath plus a 2K. Yep. I think I play the Newgate down. The reason why I think I play the Newgate down is because if they board wipe, none of this stuff can attack into me. They have to get rid of 2Ks here. Yeah, I think that was the right play. They have dropped so much. We're about to drop a third Emperor on them. Technically, well, no spoilers. No spoilers. Okay, they don't have the 10 drop, which is fine. That's good for us. This is probably a 9 drop Rush Kaido if I had to guess. The way that they put one Dawn on here. They might go like 9, KO the Hawkins, get an extra Dawn back. That doesn't really do much because they can't really protect 2 big hits like this. Actually, 3, I suppose. Yeah. I think they kind of just have to pressure hard. Why there? I'm going to do it. I'm going to drop the third Emperor on him. Let's go! Let's go! Love to see it. Oh, perfect. This is why you run the 3 Emperors in here. If I could run Big Mom, I would. But, you know, I can't. Anyway, on to the next. Going against Doflamingo, I want to take second if I can, but they chose to go first. Sorry, they chose to go second, so... Because I don't have any ramp cards, I think I just want to mulligan this. Yeah, this is a better hand. This is a tough matchup in the sense that you will cream them to begin with. Like, you'll do really strong against them. Start off, and they'll get down to like 1 life. But then once they start chaining their 10 drops, it becomes quickly impossible to recover from that. I actually fear when they do take these early hits because it's like not a good sign that they're just gathering a huge hand size. Not shabby to get. Like to see that. Let's just swing 5. We're going to try to get cards out of their hand. Because obviously they don't want this thing to die. If they have the immune counter event. Okay, that's not that bad. They got rid of 4 cards to protect the Nami. Like to see that. The next turn, they're going to end up playing down their 7 drops. So they're probably going to swing like a 6 and a 6. Or they might swing 6 with the Nami, use the ability, and then play 7, play down a Nuta. They might just go... I think we just counter out of this stuff if we can. They dropped a lot of cards here. The reason I do this is because if they use their blocker at all, I get to blow something up, which is nice. Is it Punk Gibson to rest this Luffy? What are the chances that they have enough to protect the Luffy? Spiderweb. Ooh, they had a lot. Okay, respect. Let's see them get through. This deck is so defensive, it's crazy. No, this looks like they're dropping the 10 drop. Oh, yes, yes. No 10 drop. Oh man, when they swung just the 5 flat, I was so confused. So then what else would they do? One here, hey, take the 8. So 8, 8. I can take an 8, yeah. Fine, okay, we're good. Let's just go off the bat. Swing 10. This could be a 4 and 2, so we just put 1 on here just to be safe. Whatever they block with, then we can KO the other thing. Yeah. Because if they block with one of these two, then we use this Luffy ability to KO the other one. And then we just stack all on this Luffy and then just swing in. There were some moments there that if they had the right card, that this game would have been turned around real quickly. If they swung that turn where they went Nami onto the Jean Bart, and then they just played a 10 drop, and then all 3 of these guys are tapped down, we're in trouble. But thankfully, they did not see the 10 drop, which definitely would have won them the game. So yeah, we got a couple of quick matches in. That's usually the nature of this deck anyway. You either win fast or die fast. So we did a couple of winnings there. Thankfully, though, we didn't go against any Katakuris because that matchup is a little bit rough. Being a 3 life is probably the biggest hindrance to this leader, but I say that in the next set, this becomes a better leader overall because we'll see more support. You'll be able to play things earlier in the game instead of having to kind of just like sit around twaddling your thumbs, wondering what to do until you get to your 9 drop turn. So yeah, overall, it's not quite there. It's still a really strong deck. I think it's probably a contender to win some locals, maybe even do okay in some like regionals or treasure cups. It's definitely like a B tier deck to me, but I think in that next set, you'll definitely see it bump up a little bit to the A tier. What really hurt it for this set though is not being able to have the Namis and be able to consistently search out different things. So if you have the Namis, you're able to at least play this a little bit differently where you can search out your events, you can 2Ks, or maybe you played a little bit more of a variant where you're doing like Rush Zoro or like the Rush Luffy 5 cost, not this one. So yeah, I think overall the deck is almost there. But anyway, I really like playing it. I think I might try to play it in the next set because I definitely have a couple of the starter decks pre-ordered. Let me know what you guys think. What deck would you like to see next? Hopefully you guys aren't too upset with the ban list overall. I forgot to mention that, but yeah, rest in peace, Red, for at least the next month until it comes back in on December 8th. So anyway, thanks everyone for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.